Welcome to SISN's Implementation Science System Toolkit. I'm David Pelletier, and I'm joined by Isabelle Michaud-Letourneau, and we're excited to introduce the toolkit to you through this very short video. We hope this will encourage you to browse through the resources and maybe use them in your future work. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact us through the links provided at the bottom of this slide. We want to begin with this famous quote by Kurt Lewin: "There's nothing more practical than a good theory." What Lewin had in mind is that theories should provide new ideas for trying to potentially resolve problematic situations. But he also stressed that theories should be applied in the real world to see if modifications are needed and learn how to best apply them in the real world in the future. So we've used this quote to frame this introduction to the resources on this webpage. In terms of theory, in 2018, SISN published a paper with some key ideas to potentially resolve implementation challenges that organizations face in the real world. We refer to this as concepts and frameworks instead of ideas and theories, but it had the same intention. And soon thereafter, we obtained funding from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to put these ideas into practice in Kenya and Uganda, learn a great deal about doing so, and use those lessons to produce the toolkit contained on this webpage. Appropriately enough, both of these papers were published in Current Developments in Nutrition because, after all, implementation science is an emerging science, especially in nutrition. To refresh your memories, here are 5 key ideas in SISN's theory or framework from 2018. In order to actually improve implementation and impact, implementation science must take a broad view of the factors that can become bottlenecks, and these range from households and community factors all the way to the enabling environment. Secondly, it must draw upon 3 forms of knowledge and experience when attempting to address those bottlenecks. And Isabelle will talk more about these 3 forms of knowledge in a moment. Third, the methods used to access relevant knowledge and experience must be practical and timely if, after all, it's supposed to be useful to implementers. Fourth, implementation science practitioners must proactively take steps to facilitate and strengthen the translation of knowledge into action if it's going to be put into practice and have impact. And finally, implementation science must involve close collaboration between researchers and implementers. Now, just to be clear, some of these may not be considered new ideas at all. Most can be found in the literature in one form or another, but not as part of a unified framework. In addition, while some of these may even be considered common sense, we are now reminded of another famous quote that common sense often is not common practice. And it's improving our practices that is the aim here. So it's for these reasons that SISN integrated these disparate ideas into a unified framework back in 2018 in order to sort of nudge the nutrition community's approach to implementation science in the most productive directions. So with that introduction, I'll now turn it over to Isabelle to describe the insights that we gained by putting these ideas into practice in Kenya and Uganda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. So a few words to present the implementation science initiative that was carried out with teams from Kenya and Uganda. It was a 3-year collaboration to partner with implementers in both countries. It was FHI partners in Kenya and URC in Uganda to learn together how to operationalize SISN's framework. It focused on a national program that is implemented in many countries, which is iron folic acid supplementation, and we try to identify and address various bottlenecks. So this initiative gave us a very practical experience, and the lessons learned were key to create a non-personal model and guidance for applying implementation science in nutrition. So one key lesson was the need to view implementation science as a system with several activities that need to be carefully designed and linked together in order to translate knowledge into action. So we can say that this is really a knowledge translation or a knowledge to action framework. On this image, it depicts key feature of an implementation science system. So you can see the three forms of knowledge that David referred. We have the contextual knowledge and experience. Then we have the global knowledge and experience. And third, we have the contextual implementation research. You can also see three activities that can be mobilized those different forms of knowledge. The first one may be the bottleneck assessment here in green, then a literature review, you can see this in yellow, and finally implementation research studies in red. So we also present a tool to keep track of bottlenecks and potential solutions that we call a bottleneck and solution inventory. It's the BSI. And finally, and very importantly, the key B is it's a cross-cutting strategy of knowledge brokering that is key. It's a proactive strategy to help access each form of knowledge and translate the knowledge into action. So the toolkit is made of 3 documents that provide detailed guidance on how to apply the operational model and certain of its activities. The first one is the umbrella guide, which addresses all the components of the implementation science system. The second one is called the Program Assessment Guide, and it has been developed in an earlier project, but was really used to access contextual knowledge and experience and to conduct the bottleneck assessment in the initiative in both countries. And the third one is the Score Guide that provide guidance on how to conduct a scoping review of the literature as a way to access and organize the knowledge, the global knowledge and experience. So each of these guides can be downloaded from the Toolkit webpage. In addition, you can also find some supporting materials that were developed along the way as intermediate product during the initiative, but that could be helpful in capacity building with local implementers at various stages of the initiative. In conclusion, when we start our initiative, none of these guidance were developed. So we really learn by trial and errors along the way. But we think that using this operational model for an implementation science will give you a systematic approach for identifying implementation bottlenecks, building on multiple sources of knowledge. It will lead the way to address the bottleneck in a whole system, which is rarely take place. It will provide multiple resources, ideas, and concepts along the way that you can adapt to your needs. And it will help also falling into the trap of conducting more implementation research without using existing knowledge, and hopefully and eventually build a stronger implementation system. So if you use some of those materials, we certainly welcome your comments and experiences, and we thank you very much for your attention.